Good evening, and thank you all for being here. I want to begin by expressing my sincere gratitude to the Marshallese Educational Initiative, to the community leaders, performers, organisers, elders, families, and to everyone gathered with us both in person and online for this important commemoration. Today we come together to remember, to honour, and to stand in solidarity. This year marks 80 years since the United States began exploding nuclear weapons in the Marshall Islands in 1946. 8 decades have passed, yet the significance of this history remains as urgent and meaningful as ever. Between 1946 and 1958, the United States carried out 67 nuclear explosions in the Marshall Islands. The scale of these detonations was unprecedented. The most powerful of them, Castle Bravo in 1954, was approximately 1,000 times more powerful than the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima. The consequences were devastating. Entire islands were destroyed or contaminated. Radioactive fallout spread far beyond the designated detonation sites, reaching communities that had no warning and no protection. Families were exposed to dangerous levels of radiation, displaced from their homes, and separated from ancestral lands that had sustained generations for centuries. Today we recognise and honour the Marshallese families who endured radiation exposure, displacement, loss of homeland, and profound disruption to their lives and communities. We also acknowledge an important truth. The impacts of these explosions were not confined to the years when the bombs were detonated. Those impacts continue across generations. Many Marshallese communities remain unable to fully return to their ancestral lands. Environmental contamination continues to present serious challenges, including concerns surrounding Runit Dome and the broader legacy of radioactive waste left behind by the US nuclear bombing program. The consequences have been physical, environmental, cultural, psychological, and economic. They've affected health, livelihoods, traditions, and connections to place. They continue to shape the lives of survivors and their descendants today. Yet this story is not only a story of loss, it is also a story of resilience. Many Marshallese people built new lives far from their home islands, including the vibrant Marshallese community here in Arkansas. Through hardship and displacement, families carried with them their values, traditions, language, and deep sense of community. Displacement did not erase Marshallese identity, culture, or language, nor did it erase the bonds that connect Marshallese people to one another and to their homeland. The endurance of Marshallese culture is on full display here tonight. We see it in music, storytelling, dance, faith, family, and community leadership. We see it in the wisdom of elders, the dedication of parents, and the energy and promise of young people carrying this history forward. Gatherings like this concert remind us that remembrance is not only about mourning what was lost, it's also about affirming survival and celebrating a people who continue to preserve and strengthen their culture for future generations. That is why the work of the Marshallese Educational Initiative is so important. Through education, advocacy, and community engagement, the organisation helps preserve history, teach future generations, and ensure those stories are neither forgotten nor overlooked. Remembering this history matters not only for Marshallese communities, it matters for everyone who believes in human dignity, justice, and peace. The story of nuclear destruction in the Marshall Islands raises important questions about responsibility, accountability, and our shared obligations to support those affected by the consequences of nuclear weapons. The international community has a responsibility to support survivors and address the environmental consequences that remain. These efforts deserve continued support and strengthened international cooperation, including through frameworks such as the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons, which recognises obligations to assist victims and address environmental harm. Meaningful support for survivors is not charity. It is a matter of justice, responsibility, and honouring the dignity of those whose lives were forever changed. The history of the Marshall Islands also speaks to a broader commitment, ensuring that no community anywhere in the world experiences similar harm in the future. It requires working towards a world free from nuclear weapons. As we reflect tonight, let us recognise the courage of Marshallese survivors, elders, families, and young people. Let us honour those who carried this history through decades of struggle and those who continue to advocate for justice, recognition, and healing. And let us remember that while nuclear weapons left a painful legacy, they did not define the Marshallese people. What defines the Marshallese people is your strength. What defines you is your culture. And what defines you is your determination, your faith, your community, your enduring spirit. Thank you for allowing all of us to stand in solidarity, to remember and to honour this history together. Kamul Tata.